Yesterday, I completed 75 hard. Little did I know that 2.5 months ago, I'd be embarking upon a journey that would have the level of impact, that would have the level of insight, that would change my life in the way that these last 75 days have. And I'm so excited today in this episode of Superhero Life to be sharing the 10 life-changing lessons that I took away from my experience in fully surrendering and fully committing myself and winning the 75 hard challenge. And I started down this journey on December 2nd, 2024. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, February 14th, which marks a very monumental day in my life for different reasons. But it's exactly 75 days yesterday from the day that I started down this journey. So this recap is fresh in my mind, in my heart, and is my first thoughts and reactions from the last 2.5 months. Now, for those of you that don't know what the 75 Hard Challenge is, it is the first leg of a year-long program. I love following Andy's content. Andy Frisella, the founder of First Form, the creator of 75 Hard, talks about this not being a challenge, talks about this not being a weight loss journey. This is not your typical workout, exercise type of program. This is a lifestyle program. This is something that you are meant to repeat time and time again. But the 75 days is the first leg of a year-long program, which includes 4 phases. Now, 75 Hard consists of 7 daily tasks that you must complete. You must have 2 workouts, 45 minutes at length, one of them being outside. You must follow a diet with no alcohol, no cheat meals. You must read 10 pages from any nonfiction personal development book. You must follow a diet. You must take a progress picture every single day. And here's the asterisk is if you miss one of these, you have to go back to the beginning and start on day 1. So I started on December 2nd. If I would have failed at any point throughout this, I wouldn't have finished yesterday. You have to recreate it. You have to restart over. Now, this is not leading you to a participation trophy. This is not setting you on a journey of getting on stage. This is a challenge that you embark on for yourself, for the mental toughness, for the mental resiliency that comes out of it, for the transformation that takes place inside of you. Yeah, you can do it with other people, but there's no failure other than you failed at not honoring and keeping your word. And I think that's what makes this so difficult and challenge is because there's nobody looking from the outside, managing you, tracking you, holding you accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable to your own word. But the 10 life lessons, these are things that came to surface throughout the course of the 2.5 months. They were reminders to me about a standard that I should be living at. And some of these are new. Some of these are actually insightful breakthroughs over the last 2.5 months. So I want to share with you guys each and every single one of these, and hopefully there's something in each one of these for you. I don't know where you are in your journey right now, your journey of life. I'm sure there's something that you're struggling with. I'm sure there's something that is in front of you that feels like it's an obstacle that you cannot overcome. For this audience, I know many of you are going to feel like that is your struggle and challenge with pornography and the impact it's having on your life. So my hope and prayer is that with these lessons, there's something embedded, maybe not in all of them, maybe in a handful of them, that can be takeaways, that insights. Maybe what you need out of this episode is the courage to step up and take on the challenge of 75 Hard yourself, which I would recommend to everybody listening. I think that 75 Hard can have a transformational impact on every single person's life if they allow it to, which means you have to surrender to the program. You have to follow it to a T. You have to not try to negotiate your way in and around it. The workouts have to be separate. They have to be split from each other. One has to be outside despite the weather conditions. I fought sickness. I was sick for 2+ weeks during the course of 75 Hard. We went through one of the most brutal winter storms here in Florida. Yes, it was excruciatingly cold here in Florida, which is not something that we were used to. Some of my outdoor workouts were in the cold, in the rain, with a runny nose, with the flu, blowing my nose every 3 minutes. But I got it done. Some of those were done after 3 hours of sleep. Poor quality sleep by that. But if you can surrender to the program, I can guarantee it will change you. And by changing you, you will change the outcome of your life. I believe that. I believe very much in what Andy Frisella has created with the 75 Hard. I am a coach. I have programs. I have ways that we coach and help and lead men through transformation. I am endorsing this. He's not paying me to do this, but I support everything about the 75 Hard program. But the 10 life lessons here, guys, this is what today's episode is about. So I want to get into each one of these. I'm going to do a full kind of recap, shorter, condensed, not as tactical on the rebuilt man, just kind of some of my life takeaways, some of my insights. So check that out. We'll link it down there in the show notes below. But for this episode, let's keep this one organized and strategic. 10 life-changing lessons from 75 Hard. Number one, you have to continually recreate yourself. This one is for me. This is something that I think I hadn't done in a while. Many of you follow me on Instagram, on social media. You follow the podcast. This podcast has gone through recreations from the beginning when I was just going down the journey of healing and recovery for myself, to stepping into and embracing the role of Coach Frank, to being now an expert and leader in the addiction and recovery space. There have been periods where I've had to recreate my professional identity, my personal identity. And what 75 Hard reminded me is this is an ongoing, never-ending process, a literal recreation of yourself. Me, I like to take these as practical and literal as I possibly can. Over the course of 75 days, I didn't shave. I grew a beard. I grew a pretty big, gnarly, burly beard. But it was a way that I was reminding myself daily that I was on a journey of recreation. I joked with people that would ask me about the growing of the beard. I said, yeah, it's my Rocky IV in Russia training beard. You know, those of you that have seen the movie Rocky IV knows that when he's preparing to fight Ivan Drago in the final scene, he goes away to Russia up in the mountains in the freezing cold in a cabin to do his training alone and isolated. And during that time, he grows a pretty epic beard. And right before he cuts to the scene where they're in the boxing ring with that beard, Sylvester Stallone hikes up the mountain. He runs up this big mountain there in Russia, and it's cold, and he's got to run away from the security guard. There's so much symbolism, and that movie has always spoke to me. So for me, through this journey, there was a recreation of Coach Frank, and that included growing a beard. Now we'll clean it up. We'll do some cool things with it, but the lesson here is you have to be continually recreating yourself. If you are not recreating the version of yourself, that version of you that you are is dying. It's that whole adage, right? If you are not growing, you are dying. And that growing must be done through a recreation process. Recreating your mental capacity, recreating your skill sets, recreating your relationships. And that doesn't mean new ones. Rebuilding, recreating the ones that you already have. Do not allow your life and yourself and your identity to get stagnant. Lesson number two, and these are not in any particular order. These are as they came to me as I was keeping a running log of my notes. Lesson number two here is you cannot have peace of mind in a tense body. About midway through the 75 Hard challenge, my body was beat up. It was tired, exhausted. I did 75 workouts outside with a 70-pound vest. That was brutal. So my second workout wasn't just a stroll in the park. I put a vest on my body, a very big one, and I rucked for 45 minutes every single day. But about midway through, my body was aching. It hurt. It was tired. It was exhausted. It was tense. Lactic acid buildup, inflammation buildup all over the place. And I began to realize I became very irritable at that time. And it wasn't until I went and got a full deep tissue relaxation massage that I felt better and at peace. And then as I'm reading a book, Psycho-Cybernetics, it talks about this exact thing, how our body stores energy, how our body stores emotions. Okay, if you are reacting in life right now, if you are tense, look at your physical body. Are you tense in your body? Because a tense body will produce a tense mind. You cannot have peace of mind in a tense body. These things are interconnected, and we must be aware of them, and we must be taking proactive measures and steps to create peace of body so we can have peace of mind. Lesson number 3 here. Sometimes the hard work stays hard. You just have to keep doing it. I think this is the lesson in doing hard things on a daily basis. I've coached this, I've practiced this, I've talked about this at length with many of the men that we mentor and coach. It's a part of our program, is doing hard things on a daily basis, seeking adversity. Sometimes we teach this in a way of, by doing the hard things, you grow and callous and condition yourselves, that the things get easier. Well, I can tell you, after 45 minutes of walking with a 70-pound vest for the last 70 days, day 75 was just as hard as day 1. It never got easier. Putting a weight vest on my body at the end of a long day, after I've already worked out once before, and going on a ruck never got easier. But I had to keep doing it because it's what I committed to doing. Now, the reward at the end always felt greater. And in fact, when it was most difficult and challenging is when the reward at the end of it was the greatest. Sometimes the hard work stays hard. We just have to keep doing it. And that's our job. Lesson number 4, a physical transformation is the number one personal development tool you have at your disposal. You want to change your life, start by changing your body. For many reasons, this is true. Number 1 is it is an immediate feedback loop. When you begin to prioritize your physical health and your physical body, you immediately get feedback that it's working or it's not working. What it takes to physically transform your body are the same things it takes to transform every single area of your life. And I think it's the quickest way that we can build the confidence that we have the power to change. It takes discipline. It takes planning. It takes prioritization. It takes self-denial. It takes execution. But then you build this feedback loop that doing the hard stuff, prioritizing your care, actually produces good fruit. And then you get excited about continuing to do it. Then you wake up the next day and you're like, God, I look better than I did yesterday. How can I compound upon this? Now you take that level of intensity, you take that level of approach, you take that level of execution to any area of your life, to your relationships, to your family, to your finances, to your recovery, to your freedom. It doesn't matter. But I believe if all of you would start with trying to change your body first, you could change any and single area of your life. Lesson number 5 here. I am stronger than every excuse, every thought of self-doubt, or every limiting belief that I may have. God, this became so clear to me over the course of these 75 days. I'm a highly disciplined individual. I have been for a long time. But man, I wanted to not do some of these things. There were times when I woke up on Christmas in a cold sweat. 3 hours of sleep is what my Oura ring told me I had that night. My temperature was 4 degrees higher. I was sick. Like I had a fever. Like my temperature was over 100 degrees, 102. I should not have gone outside. I should not have gone to the gym, but I did. But looking back on it, it was in those moments of negotiations. At the end of a long day, I'd been on 6 hours of coaching calls, recorded 2 podcasts. It's dark out, it's cold, it's rainy, it's wet. I could have gone on a walk. Nobody would have known. I could have clicked the app. I did a 45-minute walk. I put the ruck on though, without anybody seeing me. I put the weight vest on my body and I walked outside for 45 minutes. You are stronger than every excuse, every self-doubt, every limiting belief that you may potentially have in your life. It doesn't matter what it is that's trying to resist you from doing the thing that you know you're supposed to be doing. You leaning in and you saying no to that thing and doing the thing is where all your fulfillment is going to be found. Number 6 here, guys. This one has changed my outlook on health and fitness and the things that I'll be doing for my life for the foreseeable future. Number 6, loaded walking is the fountain of youth. Let me repeat that. Loaded walking is the fountain of youth. I've talked about it. I put a 70-pound weight vest on my body every day, absent of maybe 10 to a dozen days. I had a 40-pound ruck backpack that I used a couple of times, and there was one day at Christmas at my mom's house that my nephew got a brand new backpack, and I was ready to leave. I was ready to leave Christmas to go home and do my walk because I needed a vest, and we found a way to work around it. So I took some weights out of my mom's garage, put them in my nephew's brand new book bag, and I walked around my mom's neighborhood and then returned back to Christmas with the family. But this has made me feel young again. I'm 41 years old. This made me feel light. Through the course of the reading part of it, reading 10 pages per day, I read a book early on called The Comfort Crisis, which is an amazing book. I recommend it to everybody. But it talked about, from an evolutionary perspective, human beings being the only species on the planet that are actually designed to carry why we walk. It separates us from every other animal on the planet. And in fact, the author was pointing at a theory that it is loaded walking that played a massive role in human beings becoming the apex predator on the planet. So I think there's something embedded in our human nature that we're supposed to put things on our body, carry things on our body while we walk and move. So for me, even though 75 hard has ended, I'm committed to 365 of a loaded walk. Now, I won't do 45 minutes. I'm going to do 30 minutes here on some breaks. But I'm going to put the weight vest on because I love the way it makes me feel. I hate doing it. I love the way I feel, though. It's made me feel young, vibrant, athletic. Lesson number 7. Honoring your word is the most fulfilling and satisfying feeling in the world. I shouldn't have to tell you this. When you do the things that you say you're going to do, man, it is a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment unlike anything in life. Knowing at 9 o'clock when nobody's watching that I was able to not negotiate with myself and do the things that I say I was going to do. Waking up the next day, feet sore, hurting, beat down, tired, but I did everything I said I was going to do. That is success. That is happiness. That is fulfillment. That is true satisfaction. Number 8, man, took me back. It really, this I felt very early on, and I had a lot of amazing conversations with some people over the course of these last 2.5 months about my faith, about my relationship with God, about the role I see him in the world, in the universe, and more importantly, in my life, and the role that I see me playing for his purpose. I've been on a 6-year journey of knowing God, of finding God, of hearing God's voice. We've wrestled, we've gone back and forth. I doubted him. I felt close to him. But during these 75 days, I never felt more close to God than I did many times throughout. And it was in the hard, difficult moments. And the lesson here is the path to relationship with God that you're looking for is through becoming the man that he's called you to be. So many Christian men want to hear God's voice. They want to hear him calling them in a particular direction. That voice is the whisper inside of you. His voice is the one that's calling you to greater things. His voice is the one that's calling you to adversity. By leaning in, by doing the hard things, by seeking the challenges, by growing, by stepping into your potential, that's where God wants to meet you. God knows you as you are today. He wants to see you prosper into the man that he has called you to be. God wants to meet you at the man full of the potential that he's placed inside of you. What are you holding back from? What are you not stepping into that he's placed inside of you? The distractions, the excuses, the limiting beliefs are not from him. His voice is calling you to greatness, and it's at greatness that he will meet you for the next assignment. I've gotten so clear on God's call for my life now. So clear, more clear than I've ever been before, but it was only done by me leaning in and saying, who have you called me to be? Like all of you, I get caught up in distractions and comparison. But 75 days of looking in, of speaking in, of hearing in, listening, I heard his voice. And it's clear of where we're going. The path to your relationship with God is going to be found by you becoming the man that he's called you to be. And many of us would call that your best self. Number 9, for those of you that struggle with sleeping, the good night's sleep that you're looking for is waiting for you at the end of a long, completed, fulfilled day. I track my sleep. The Oura Ring is charging right now, but I track it. I track my sleep. I track my activity. I average a little over 17,000 steps over the last 75 days. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of movement. Some of you struggle to get 6,000. I 3x that. Many days over 20,000 steps. A lot of activity, a lot of moving, a lot of training, a lot of working. I also averaged a little over 7 hours of sleep. Always not the best. I've always been somebody that struggled a little bit with restlessness at night, but I can tell you, you want to improve the quality of your sleep, give more of yourself to each and every single day. You want to guarantee you get a good night's sleep, give everything you have in you to the day that you're living in currently. Because here's the truth, tomorrow's not promised. If you woke up every day and reminded yourself that the next day wasn't guaranteed, so I better give this one everything that I have, you would sleep a whole lot better at night. The good night's sleep you're looking and waiting for is at the end of the long, completed, and fulfilling day. And number 10 here is not a new one, but man, it reconfirmed this to me. Self-discipline is the highest form of self-love in the world. Admittedly, I'm somebody that struggled with self-doubt, self-hatred, self-critique. If you guys knew the inner dialogue that went on in my head, you would be scared. It would be too much for many of you. The conversation that takes place in this melon of a head. But I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of who I've become. I'm proud of where I'm going. I'm proud of what I've been able to do. I'm proud of the challenges I took upon myself. Because that was it, man. Nobody was calling me to this. And in fact, it was through the lens of disgust and hatred with myself that embarked me on this journey. So 75 days ago, I didn't have a really good view of myself. 75 days ago, I was in fact disgusted with where I was. 75 days ago, I knew I was living way below a standard that I'm capable of. But 75 days of discipline, of execution, of no excuses, of doing the hard, difficult things has put me in a place where I stand here at the time of recording this to you and tell you I love myself. And that may sound weird for me to say, but I'm proud of the man that I've become, and I'm proud of what I've done. And I believe that if you embarked on a journey very similar, the way that you view and look at yourself would change too. Guys, those are my lessons. I don't have a call to action here for you. I don't have a link. I don't have anything I want to share other than my experience over the last 75 days. You guys have been on this journey, many of you with me, since day one. We're coming up on 6 years, 5 years of recovery. We're going to have some amazing announcements coming over there very soon. But for this podcast, guys, it's been an amazing journey, and we are just starting in a new direction, a new path. So thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for tuning in today. If you've done 75 hard, I'd be curious, what have been your takeaways? And if you haven't, maybe today's episode was the inspiration that you needed to hear to go take it on yourself. But we're going all in, guys. The live hard life is the way that we live here now. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful. Guys, the Superman Life, rate, review, share, do all that amazing stuff. We'll be back next week with our regularly scheduled interviews. But Coach Frank, guys, thank you again. It's been an honor. It's been a journey. It's been an incredible 75 days. Day one of Post 75 Hard starts right now. But love it, guys. See you in the next one.